What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Hostile Territory on Dead of Night. Brian, let us hear the mutation.
Dead of Night is the map where we have to destroy 151 infested structures to clean out the infestation. This would be easy were it not for the fact that the infested structures all spawn enemies at night and attack our base, alongside several special infested. Enemies shoot random spells and gain a shield upon first taking damage, and buildings shoot back.
Okay, so Stixbender and Tutu are in the call with me today. How are you guys?
Great.
Great.
We have once again arrived.
We have once again gotten through Railroad Switch. Hooray!
We have once again converged upon this this video
That's
for
true.
more tier list madness.
Madness. It's like we're actually pretty sane these days. Although we could use a little bit more madness. Let's wait. Tutu, how are we going to rank the commanders this week?
The biggest or most impactful mutator is power overwhelming. So commanders that can deal with power overwhelming, mainly static defense, will do a lot better here.
All right, let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
So Abathur has a very, very rough early game. So basically, if you don't Toxic Nest Lure at all, you're going to have nothing against the barrier infested in the first night. And Spine Crawlers and Toxic Nest can only handle so much. You can get 200 biomass by the first night. Since I did P3 this morning, I tried P3 and it was really interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good word for it.
Yeah, it's towards the later game, like once you have enough Swarm Hosts or Brutalisks, it's really easy. But until then, you're just like doing a lot of nothing. So you're gonna need a lot of help early on, just not dying, or you're gonna do not a lot of nothing in the
Or
first
you need to be
nights.
really good at Abathur Micro.
I put him in C because of the slow start.
How about you, Stixbender?
C feels a little harsh when he can do the early game, but I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said. It's like the early game, you're going to be the microing in the early game is going to be the majority of the workload, and then once you have successfully microed and not lost everything, then you just get to a point where it's like, well, I think I win now because I have unstoppable army that Amon can't do anything about.
True, but yeah. You kind of need to be either good enough to get to that point or carry to that point.
Yeah, pretty much. If you are paired with an ally who does the typical ally thing of, oh yes, I def, I did it, I def, then that ironically will work pretty well for you as an Abathur, because it's like, okay, fine, you def, and I help def, well, I figure out how to make an army so powerful that I no longer need you to do anything, so that I won't be dependent on you.
Meanwhile, the def will just put all the biomass right in front of the base for you to collect.
Yes.
So, what do you have?
It's not like you won't, and it's not like you won't be helping def, because some commanders, it's like you can't help with def, and then when your ally says I def, you say, yeah, sure, I trust you, totally.
So where do you have him?
They die. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like he can go in like B tier, but we could put him in C tier as well. It's like if C tier feels a bit harsh for me, but I agree with everything Tutu said. So I don't know.
Without prestige, still C?
Yeah.
Should not make a difference.
Cool. Alarak, where do we have him?
Power overwhelming can be a problem because because he's dependent on a very strong hero unit who has a very bad day when he gets black holed.
Yes. And he's gonna eat his whole army too.
Yes. Realistically, it's actually better to lose Alarak's army than Alarak. It's just the fact that being stunned is bad. Alarak has Mothership and Alarak. They are both good at killing infested. He does have problems with power overwhelming. He does not really have problems with barrier too much because Alarak Destructive Wave one-shots everything in the first place, so it's fine. Basically, it's just a matter of try not to get caught with spells, caught out with spells if you can, and if you do get caught out, that's not the complete end of the world if you make sure that you have decent enough positioning, I guess, basically. I feel like he can be like in the B or A range personally, but
How about you, Tutu? How about you, Tutu?
Power overwhelming completely destroys everything he has. Well, if you're gonna like use an army, you're not, because your army's just gonna sit there and feed him. Um, I don't think Ascendants will last long enough to get stacks unless you just like keep them completely away from the fight. And Ascendants will probably trigger the barrier, which is actually bad for Alarak. Unless they don't trigger barrier. I'm not sure. I usually just kill them in one shot. But later on, Alarak will probably even have trouble holding 2 entrances. So I think he's really bad for this one. There's just like, if you use destroyers, they're going to get killed. They're going to get killed by AoE, and then vanguards are terrible. Maybe they're good here, a little bit better than destroyers, but probably not much. So if your positioning's not on point, you're just gonna lose a lot of stuff. And chokers exist.
Oh, chonkers,
That
yeah.
hurts a lot too. Overcharge is nice, but
is.
barrier sucks up a lot of hits, so that wastes a lot of shots.
True.
I put him in D.
So we have A or B from Stickspender, and D from Tutu. Okay, Stickspender, are you gonna try to convince Tutu that Alarak belongs in A or B?
I am not sure why you're expecting his army to just die.
Power overwhelming hits really hard. My experience with power overwhelming as Alarak is, if you're not really good with him, you can never snowball into a big enough army because you keep getting reset, and your army's too expensive, and you're on one base on this map. That's my experience anyway, with power overwhelming. Or were you thinking something else, Tutu, of why you couldn't quite do it with Alarak that easily?
No, it's basically you're gonna have a hard time getting a large enough army.
Yeah,
And
snowballing.
your AoE options are only Alarak and Mothership.
I was actually thinking that you can just stay home and defend while the mothership goes out and solos the entire map. Recalls when it's low or something.
You might
It's
get pulled and you aggro a lot of the Photon Overload buildings if you hit too many of them.
That's the biggest problem of Mothership soloing, is aggroing all of the power overwhelming.
That's true. So, what?
Yeah, right. I forget that the problem is that like you can't quite. Right, I forgot about power overwhelming, but I remember now. When I have done this with Alarak in the past, it literally was a matter of, why is power overwhelming happening to be the most problematic mutator for me? Power overwhelming actually ended up killing more of my stuff than
The special infested.
not even special infested, or not power overwhelming. Photon overload. I mean, Photon
Ah.
overload killed more than power overwhelming.
Oh, that's
I was
interesting.
dying to Photon overload load more than I was dying to power overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
Considerably more. It was really bad.
Because you can't kill them fast enough because they have barrier, I think.
Yeah, that, but also because Alarak has a lot of ways to, poke and sneeze on the on all of the stuff, and it's just like, well,
How
this
would
could have severe repercussions.
how would Wrathwalkers with Havoc support fare on here? Will it be just this more of the same, get wrecked and stuff?
They work pretty good. The only problem being that, yeah, you'll have to be careful about photon overload, basically. Yeah, you're probably going to struggle to clear after all, and then, yeah, defending is going to be a bit of a pain because of chokers plus spells, so yeah.
Is he worse than
Yeah, I think
Abathur?
my default... Yeah, probably, because he has, like, the reverse problem. He'll dominate the early game because of Mothership, but then he'll be terrible past that.
Perfect pair then.
Yeah. because you're not going to clear fast, and it's not going to get any better as time goes on, because your biggest advantage is, well, I got a mothership. C, is he in D or C? I guess we could say he's in D.
I actually was almost inclined to put Alarak in B, and then I remembered Power Overwhelming does quite a number on those expenses, and then I remembered, yeah, it I couldn't really snowball quickly with Alarak. So, when we were discussing Alarak, we talked a lot about his overcharge stuff, or rather, uh, his mothership stuff. So without the mothership, without P3, is he still D or is he even lower?
I don't think he goes lower than D, but then he definitely loses any argument to be potentially in the same tier as Abathur.
So lower D. All right.
Lower D.
Yeah.
Arcturus, where do we have him?
Manx has things that allow him to destroy most of the buildings without even having to go outside. And his static defense is really strong. So if you're fighting like chokers, or actually you'd probably make like one tank at each entrance, and then that for like extra assistance. And then you just have lots of bunkers and you ESO everything. And the bunkers deal tons of damage. So you can use P1 or P3, and having the flame guys also deals a lot of AoE damage, which is nice as well. I would nominate him for one of the S's.
Okay, I have a question. How many bunkers on each side do you need?
I put 4 or more.
Four or
Full.
more. Okay, so 5 on the harder ones, 4 on the weaker ones. All right. How about you, Sixbender?
Bunkers do defend good. You can, if you want, add a tank on each side, because your tanks have, as they rank up, they get bonus range and bonus AoE, and they stun with their attacks. So they'll have a habit of keeping the infested really far away. Put the tanks far enough behind the bunkers that they aren't going to get, obliterated by spells. And as long as you do that, yeah, tank gonna do good things for you, most likely.
Okay.
So that'll help with defending. And then yeah, ESOs will be able to clear, like they can reach every structure on the map basically. For the bottom structures that people usually worry about, if you stick your ESOs next to the bottom left gas at the south base, then you can reach those. So either if you spawn there, or if your ally is willing to let you, snuggle up ESOs next to their base, then you can reach down there just fine. So yeah, you can just reach the whole map with ESOs. You can use ESOs to defend during night, or if you are confident in your defense, you don't even have to. But if you do use ESOs to defend during night, you don't even need 4 bunkers, realistically. You need 4 bunkers if you don't have ESOs defending, but if you have ESOs defending, yeah, you're just going to shred the attacks. Yeah, S tier indeed.
Nice. All right. Artanis, where do we have him?
Not quite as good. Normally you can clear very well with Tempests. You can clear less well with Tempests, because Tempests unfortunately do exactly 500 damage of Disintegrate, and buildings now have 600 health because of Barrier.
Much
You
to
can
press.
kind of defend. Because cannons plus either Reavers or Tempests is a pretty effective defense.
I seem to
But
recall you mentioning last time that Immortals are better against Infested than our Reavers.
yeah, you the advantage of Reavers here is because the Reavers are worse against the Infested, but they're better against Power Overwhelming because they stand further back.
Ooh, I guess.
You are definitely better off with Immortals than Reavers against Infested. Because of the problem of Power Overwhelming, it is nice to give yourself as much distance as you can have. D.
How about you, Tutu?
Alarak at least has a strong early game. Artanis, I don't think so.
Can you not?
I mean, you can hold early on with your call downs, but they're like the resources are finite. So if you use them, you're gonna run out.
I can also
Whereas
attest.
Alarak, he just first night he won't die. Like first night he's completely fine. And if there's a choker, then you would like overcharge a pylon and then free him or something, or use your mothership and target it down or something. But Artanis, the only thing he had going for him for clearing was Tempest, like disintegrating buildings and running. But sometimes while you're trying to go in and finish off a building, you get pulled by their power overwhelming spells, and then you lose one of your very few Tempests that you could manage to get. I put him in E because like you do something. You're not hurting your ally by existing, but you're not going to be doing much.
Okay, so what do you think about that, Sixbender?
I would protest that you are not going to have very few Tempests if you are not cheesing this with like a hidden base. You will have Tempests like in decent enough quantities, but yeah, it's going to be a bit tricky because you can get pulled if you aren't careful. At 10 range, you kind of outrange Amon from being able to spell you into oblivion.
Yeah, you're not going to be doing much defense. You're better off picking someone else who can do defense and have like equally strong offense, but their defense is better.
Maybe we can put him in D for now, and then decide later whether he's bad enough to go in E once you have more commanders in there. Is that alright? Dehaka, where do we have him?
I used Tyrannosaurs. The other things, they just die too quickly.
Creeper hosts die quickly? Creepers,
perhaps,
right?
Yeah. There's too many things. Tyrannosaurs are good. They're good, except you just have to make sure that I used P1 Tyrannosaurs, so I have to like be near them and then eat bile and heal them. So it's like a lot of micro. Pack leaders are nice. They can help hold one of the sides, and Glevig can clear many buildings with his breath. Once you have enough Tyrannosaurs, you can start like murdering buildings. You just like mow them down. You just like walk towards buildings and then they die. But you have to like take really good care of the Tyrannosaurs, and if they're like in red health, you gotta send them back or something. I put them in B.
What do you think about that, Stickspender?
Yeah, that makes sense. Tyrannosaurs are probably the correct option here. Guardians normally are Dehaka's great option here, but Guardians suffer from being in range of some spells. Not all spells, but enough spells to be slightly problematic. With Dehaka healing them, it shouldn't be too bad, but yeah, use Tyrannosaurs for more ability to just shoulder check through bases instead of just trying to keep Guardians behind Dehaka and hope that you don't get murdered by spells. I can agree with the Tyrannosaur idea on that front. So yeah, B tier makes sense.
Alright. I was actually thinking of you can have creeper hosts in your base, and when you manually spawn the creepers, they can actually reach every single building on the map. You don't even have to leave your base. And then for defense,
this is a very slow but technically works method. And also gets messed up because your creepers get caught in a black hole, and then you lose an entire wave, which means you're even slower.
they have 180 health each though. They can take a couple of spells and still live long enough to detonate other buildings. But okay, if you guys both say B, I won't argue. I actually have an A. Phoenix, where do we have him?
Man, I don't like this week. I usually start out with an overly optimistic take on commanders, and I know for a fact that all the commanders that are on my side here are almost all terrible this week. Almost. Well, at least the starting ones here. Because Artanis was bad, Alarak was bad, and Phoenix, again, is going to not have a great time. Normally he's got decent infested clearing tools. Nothing standout, but he's decent. But all of them are fighting infested. And then they have to deal with barrier and power overwhelming, and it's not great. You have Colossi and scouts and whatnot, but Colossi, scouts, and adepts all have to actually fight the infested, so they all get messed up hard by power overwhelming and barrier.
That's true.
And carriers especially are going to have issues with spells because they'll crowd control the carrier itself and start hitting the carrier itself. They'll anger a bunch of buildings, and then Photon Overload is going to shoot down your interceptors, which take 8 trillion years to rebuild.
Yes.
It really is a bit of a pain how they decided to make his interceptors build slower. That causes so many problems for Phoenix.
That should be in his upgrade. In his upgrade, that makes the interceptors launch faster. They should also build faster with that upgrade. Anyway.
Or they could just undo the major nerf to baseline build speed that they did. But anyways, point is, yeah.
Letter.
I guess C. He's not great, but he's not completely terrible, but he's also really not great. Maybe D.
How about you, Tutu?
Phoenix will struggle holding two sides because you either gotta like split you're using like P2, you split your champs,
Champions.
but then that's like for some people they're not like used to doing that, especially with P2. You're just like that's not how you don't play P2 like lone wolf usually.
Yes.
You might have to. Um, and then it's just fighting barrier plus power overwhelming is just a nightmare for him. It's not going to do much. So I put him in D
Aw.
as well.
So both of you are okay with D?
Yeah, D makes sense.
I don't suppose prestigious changed that, or lack of prestige changed that, do you think?
No. I was envisioning him not using P2, and I still came to D as a conclusion.
Okay. Han and Horner, where do we have him?
People love to think Han Horner on Dead of Night is just great because you can strike fighter all the stuff, right? But you can't actually one-shot buildings with strike fighters because of barrier.
That's sad. That's
You're
so
gonna need
sad.
2 shots, and your defense is just crap.
It's gonna take you
So
twice as long.
you're like, it's like Manx, but just like 5 times worse. So, yeah.
Oh no. The one thing Han and Horner
And
do well.
PDDs will take away some of the strike fighters,
Oh, that's
right?
true. Yikes.
So you're just gonna have a really bad time. And I would say it could even go probably even be E level.
My goodness. So he's worse than Artanis then. How about you, Sixbender? Yes, very good points. I agree.
I feel like strike fighters still do actually do something because they don't one-shot structures, but they do still two-shot them. But that said, yeah, you're not defending or anything, so you're still pretty terrible. You're pretty terrible. Is the conclusion. You are pretty terrible.
But at least there's pretty in there. Not ugly terrible. You agree with E?
Yes. Yeah, we agree with E.
Alright, so Han and Horner, way slower at offense, which is the only thing carrying them here, and still no defense. Speaking of defense, Karax, where do you have him?
E, not F, right?
Oh, I just misclicked. Calm down.
It's just a habit of putting them in F, right?
It's a misclick. Karax, where do you have him?
Just the force of habit because they're just that bad typically.
Might as well change your name to Fan and Horner. Karax, where do you have him?
Hey, look, the first guy I got to start who's actually kind of decent.
What do you mean kinda? He's really good.
You're gonna have an interesting time defending as Karax here, actually. Believe it or not. His buildings are very much oriented towards tankiness, not DPS, and with spells, with power overwhelming, Amon likes to say, "Aha! Wall of disruptive webs and point defense drones," and then also barrier says, "Wow, really, really tanky infested," and next thing you know, you're gonna have a little bit of trouble actually getting enough DPS to kill the infested. And normally, Karax's defense is oriented towards being tanky but not high damage, and then you just use Spear of Adun to vaporize waves while they're shooting cannons. Against infested, your defense has to kill the infested because it's a constant trickle. So your defense is actually going to be like you're gonna have to basically know how to Karax defense properly here. You can't just have any random person just grabs Karax and defends. They will fail.
Okay.
That said, unlike Strike Fighters and Disintegrate, Solar Lance didn't do 500 damage exactly, and so it gets messed up by Barrier. It does 800 damage. It doesn't care. So you can still one-shot structures with Solar Lance, and you should one-shot structures with Solar Lance, and you should really just depend on the power of Solar Lance to vaporize the map very, very thoroughly for you.
So letter.
B or A.
How about you, Tutu?
Depends on how much faith I have in people to build good defense.
How about you, Tutu?
I don't think defense is that hard. It's just you put a gateway or cybercore or forge in front, and then you put a cannon, and then you have like 1 or 2 batteries nearby, and you have like monoliths behind the cannons and energizers in case they disable the pylon. Spotters, namely.
And
I
power overwhelming also can disable pylons.
So basically extra energizers. I didn't make colossi. I just made carriers, but that was like way later. I just used solar lens clearing.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Karax is that whether they come with Stanks or Nidus, Karax has answers. So if they come with Stanks, you make Sentinels and you just like tank. And they have their extra life, so it's good. And if they have Nidus Worms, then you drop a Purifier Beam on it and then blast the rest if it's not dead.
Wow.
Um,
That's brute forcey.
Yeah, I think, and once you have enough Spirit of Dune energy, you can even use some Solar Lance to help defend. You just like leave a trail of fire and then the other two on buildings or something. I put them in A.
Yeah, that's where I have them
they
also.
can hold pretty long.
So are we all okay with A?
I'm okay with A.
I mainly have an A because of the offense. To be honest, I like observers with solar lance.
Yeah, so observers with solar lance is really good.
Kerrigan, where do we have him?
So Kerrigan follows Dehaka's strategy pretty much. You use Ultralisks because they can heal and they have a lot of life and they don't die to spells that quickly.
Yeah, 2 in fact.
You probably want your spare minerals. You'll make queens and static defense just like to help out.
Yikes.
I would highly recommend against getting the chain lightning upgrade because that triggers barrier and also lots of photon
overcharge.
Yeah, so you don't want to research that. I would say that you use, often as possible, use immobilization wave in different areas to clear out most of the enemies there. And you put like all your mastery points in immobilization wave, so you clear everything that's like around 200 HP or less. They just all die.
And everything that isn't gets its barrier used up, because barrier never comes back for Amon.
With that said, you can't use the usual lurker strats because of power overwhelming. So you got to use ultras, and you can stall with omega worms. But as if the game goes on for like pretty long for some reason, she starts to struggle. So yeah, I put her in B.
How about you, Sixbender?
I don't complain. I don't complain about putting her in B. That makes sense to me.
All right, Nova, where do we have him?
So spells are a problem, and that your units are important and expensive, and if you lose them, that's really bad. But at least your units are strong and tanky. So if something doesn't go wrong, then she will steamroll everything. If something does go wrong, it can go very wrong. But I don't think you should expect something to go wrong. Just that if something does go wrong for some reason, oh no, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to want to use, you can use Nova. You have Nova to clear. You can use P3 Nova to make clearing really easy. You can use tanks and liberators to defend. If P3 Nova dies because she can be targeted by spells while super cloaked, that's okay because it's pretty cheap to revive Nova. It's like, oh no, Nova died. Oh wait, I don't care. She could probably honestly go in S because it really is like, P3 really is good, and like you really just, something has to go horribly wrong for you to not steamroll as Nova here. Things can go horribly wrong, but you shouldn't expect them to. So, yeah.
Okay, how about you, Tutu?
With P3, one sabotage drone will kill like 4 or 5 buildings.
Yes.
In one area, and then you probably will leave the big ones for liberators, or you just hit them like once or twice and then let someone else kill them later, or come back for during the day when it's safe.
Yes.
At home, you just have tanks and liberators and Raven turrets, and if they get a little bit close, you drop a defense drone. I think this is easy S for P3 Nova.
I agree. Without prestige.
Maybe just A.
Yeah, I don't think she's S without prestige. Without P3.
Without P3.
Specifically. Raynor, where do we have him?
I used P3, and I had a slow start because P3 always has a slow start. P3, I still masked tanks, and I masked tanks until about like 130 supply, and then, well, while I was masking tanks, I was slowly gaining battle cruisers. But you can hold for very long with a lot of tanks, and you have like a line of bunkers. They don't even have to be full. You just put like a fire bat in one or something, and maybe like some marines, but they don't need to be full. And
Sure.
later on, your battle cruisers will just like double Yamato to kill. You double Yamato to kill a
Special infested.
building,
A Nidus. Oh wait.
and if your battle cruiser gets like focused, then you
Teleport.
You see like you teleport home. You don't even have to look. You just T click mini map, and then the rest of them continue fighting, and then you keep doing that until you're like all hurt, or until it's nighttime.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, with that said, the start is kind of slow, and your buildings take a lot of space. You don't need that many orbitals. You only need 3. You don't need that many, but still, you take a lot of space. And your start is slow, so I put them in C.
How about you, Sixbender?
Were you recommending P0 or P3?
P3.
P3. I think I might use the exact same strategy of P0, just because then you're going to want to make enough tanks probably that it's going to be slowing you down so much to use P3. But I'd use the same strategy.
Okay.
Battle cruisers plus tanks. But I don't think P3 is necessarily better. It does give you more top bar though, and your top bar is extremely strong. We can verify this because remember CTG, we played together, and I decided to meme around with using bio on this because it would be entertaining, not because it would be effective. And my entire bio ball working together got fewer kills than my Duskwings. Like,
yes.
your top bar, as it turns out, is quite good.
It's quite good.
But I don't think it's worth the increased expense on your siege tanks. I don't think it is, at least. So you could choose to use P3, you could choose to use P0. Either way, your best strategy is tanks and battle cruisers, and put some bunkers in front of the tanks. The bunkers are mostly there to draw spells and aggro more than to actually, be a contributor. The tanks are killing everything. The bunker is just a meat shield. Yeah, siege here makes sense because it's like,
without prestige.
He's without prestige as well, because as I said, P0 might just be the optimal way to do this. And he's basically like Abathur, but the early game is easier and the late game is less dominant.
Sure, let's have him in C. Stetboy, where do we have him?
Stetmann. So you can use P3 Ultralisks, and then they don't die. They just kind of kill everything. So that's funny. Yeah. Yeah. If you do use P3 Ultralisks here, like even without P3, your Ultralisks are really, really hard to kill. Even with Power Overwhelming, they shrug off a lot of spells because of yield 25% damage reduction being, as it turns out, really good.
Yeah, besides the Igor just activates barrier, so doesn't even...
The Igor activates barrier, yeah, but then it just cuts right through the barrier like it's nothing, because Stetmann, because Gary is the most powerful creation known to mankind.
You're gonna use P3 though, so it's not super duper Igor.
Yes, it still cuts through everything like nothing.
I wouldn't
Igor
say
is really strong.
It's strong
the barrier will do something. The barrier will do something, but it's
100 health.
It's 100 health. Igor does a lot of damage though.
How about you, Tutu?
I used the same strategy, except I also used a few lurkers, just a few lurkers plus
additional DPS. Why not?
Ultralisks, yeah. And I put him in S because he's just that good.
He's just that good. Die. He buffs his ally too.
green zone means like their spells, if they don't do more than 16 damage a second, then you're just like
Out
you're
healing
breaking
them.
even or still gaining.
What did you say that Sticksbender?
Yeah, okay, you can go in S tier.
Without prestige,
I
still
considered
S.
him for S tier, but no.
No.
I don't think he's S without P3.
All
I
right.
think he's only A without P3.
Mr. Stukov, where do we have him?
P3 doesn't care about power overwhelming too much. And then later on you get tanks, and tanks are
Really good.
they stay really far away from the action. They can be part of the action without being close. So they're cool. And then when you're on offense, you deep tunnel and you can still shoot stuff. His start is a little bit slow because it's not too slow because you have 2 good cooldowns to survive the early game while you build up. He also takes a lot of space, so hopefully you don't your ally doesn't block you too much.
What if he's Arcturus and he just spams Earth Splitters?
Then if your ally is Manx, you just don't need to do anything.
That's true. You just watch. If your ally is Manx, you just watch.
You'd be hot and Horner and you help your 10 airstrikes per minute.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, I'm helping!
Stukov, I think, yeah, he does. He can do a lot. The nighttime, you're infested versus they're infested. You don't really have to kill them. You just need to not let them run you over. So I think you can fight. You can with infest structure and like tanks and hordes of infested plus apocalypse. You're gonna hold off pretty easily. And offense is like you don't really care. You just set your infested in a general direction, and they'll eventually die. So I put him in A.
A. How about you, Sticksbender?
Yeah.
Without
Yeah, makes
prestige,
sense.
still A?
It's gonna be a lot more leg work without prestige, but still probably really good.
Swann, where do we have him?
Swann makes better buildings than Karax.
Oh, yes.
Yes. He makes considerably better buildings than Karax. Yeah. Have faith in the power of Swann building. You will. And on top of having better buildings than Karax, you also have
Concentrated
what am
beam,
I saying?
probably. Impulse cannon, 600 damage.
Yeah, and you have oh well, I mean, you could also use P1 to make things more easy to use for you, but yeah, you can also just not use P1. No, what I was thinking was that with Karax you have, or no, Swann you have siege tank.
Siege tanks, yeah.
Siege tank, good. Siege tank do things against infested. It's like against anything that isn't infested, siege tank not so good, but against infested, siege tank good. Yeah, he's kind of like, his defense is extremely effective. His offense is slow, but it does work. Basically, it's the best way of putting it. It's not fast, but it will get the job done eventually.
Yeah, and as long as you don't die, it technically doesn't matter whether you finish in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 50 hours. Well, it doesn't matter because the limit for co-op is 9 hours. But as long as it's within 9 hours, it shouldn't matter, right?
Yeah, and Swann shouldn't die, ever. So I feel like he can be A tier.
A. How about you, Tutu?
The fact that he has flaming Bettys as one of his static defense options means that he can hold off infested really, really effectively. And with P2, you get +4 armor. That's a lot against those infested, and you're basically not going to die. Your concentrated beams and pulse cannons should be aimed at buildings, and you don't need to clear 7, 8 buildings in a shot, but you want to clear at least 4, just as many as you can, and use them as soon as they're off cooldown. Any circular area, pulse cannon, like the top right, that area, any area where you can hit 6 buildings or more, you just use a pulse cannon, and then yeah, the thing is you don't want to spend too much time thinking about where to shoot, so you just aim, shoot 3, 4 buildings with one, and then keep defending. And your factories can fly around the edges to poke the buildings from because during the nighttime you don't need your laser to defend. maybe you can like poke kaboomers or something, but otherwise your buildings should handle them. So
Nice.
I put him in S.
Ooh,
'cause
Swann. Ooh.
because he just doesn't die. He can clear stuff from his base, and you just fly factories to the edges and then clear whatever's not dead.
What do you think, Sixbender?
Yeah, he can go in S.
There we go, Swann S tier. Hey, without prestige, still S.
Yes.
Nice. All right, Tychus, where do we have him?
He has a strong early game and mid game. When he gets to late game, it gets kind of
Yikers.
weak. It's kind of tough. So with an ally, you should be able to clear you should be able to win before it gets things get too tough for Tychus to handle. The grenade doesn't trigger barrier, which is nice. You have Blaze with the fire. Serious turrets are nice. Odin can clear like lots of structures in an area every time you use the big red button. But
Oh,
yeah,
so you're not using Dogwalker here.
No.
You're using Lone
I
Wolf.
tried Dogwalker, it's not as good.
All right.
I put Tychus in B, because if you don't kill everything later on, you're gonna suffer. But you should. But in that off chance that you don't, then you're gonna suffer. So you want to clear quickly.
What do you think, Suspender?
I think that the P2 Blaze fire burning all the buildings down does still work despite barrier. But yeah, B tier makes sense. You're gonna have to, if things go long, you'll have problems.
Zagara, where do we have him?
Zagara. Oh man, she sucks. She's just terrible.
Do we need to elaborate on why she's F tier, or can we just put her in F tier?
We need to say we need to say Tutu's favorite unit first. Bio launchers.
Bio launchers get shut down, right? by those the disabling the building the stasis thing.
But we need to say it anyway.
Your free banelings are gonna run out. The good thing is that your baneling barrage can kill like 3 buildings at once if you aim it
correctly. Yes.
If you aim it properly,
in the middle,
at least 2. So that's cool. I don't think she's F just because she's still doing something.
Yes.
But not a lot. So E.
How about you, Sixbender?
She's doing something?
Yes.
Are we sure?
Her offense, Zagara P3 is really solid in offense.
It is?
Yeah, you just Baling Barrage buildings, you just use Hunter Killers, stuff die.
It does?
If you're in trouble, you can just deep tunnel back. You don't need to lose Zagara.
Are
you telling me she's actually way worse than Hot and Horner?
Yeah.
At least Zagara has bio launchers for defense.
Bio launchers are good defense too because they deal
splash.
They don't trigger barrier.
And they hit, and they shoot up.
Oh, okay. I guess she's F. Or E. I guess she's not F. I guess she's E.
We're not trying to convince you to change your mind, Sixman. We're just trying to convince. Because even if you still insist on F, if it's not unanimous, oh well. Zertul, where do we have him?
Yeah, cannons and monoliths defend easily. You can clear Dark Templar. They revive on death and have like a million health. He should be. I'd say A. I don't think he's quite S, but he's really good.
What do you think, Tutu?
Yeah, I didn't put him in S. I put him in A as well because the S people are stronger. Zeratul clearing is not fast, but his cannons just don't die. So you can survive very, very long. But yeah, his clearing is like you mass cannons in one area, everything will die, but then you might not have enough cannons for the next area unless you just go to like 40 minutes or something.
Didn't we already establish with Swann that it doesn't really matter how fast you clear if you don't ever die? Or is Swann just totally in a different league than Zeratul in terms of not dying?
Swann is in a different league.
Swann is a different league.
Okay.
Because Zeratos cannons start taking damage once there's like 5-6 Nidus worms or stanks coming at you. They're gonna take some damage. Even
Okay.
if the reg
There's like a window where they take damage, because if you use P2, eventually they reach a point where they once again no longer take damage because they one-shot everything. But there's a window in there where it's a problem.
Unless, and I'm speaking for experience, you're fighting Reavers.
Technically, there comes a point when even Reavers don't damage you anymore.
Oh, I
Very technically.
I have video evidence where even at 103 fragments, the Reavers will damage you. So anyway, Zeratul A.
A.
Cool. Now let's do rankings. Who's top of S?
Oh, sorry. Mengsk.
Arcturus?
Well, Nova.
I like Nova.
Nova or Mengsk? I'd say it's Nova or Mengsk.
What do you think, Tutu?
The easiest to control would be Stetmann, because you just F2. The most effective, the fastest is Nova.
Okay.
Strongest defense is Swann, but strong defense isn't like high priority compared to like winning quickly.
So you're saying Swann?
Swann should be bottom.
You just said strong defense is a higher priority, and you put Swann at the bottom.
I said it's not higher priority.
Oh, not okay. I'm deaf also.
Yes.
Not only am I stupid, I'm also deaf.
Nova can clear by like the third night, right? It's really fast.
Yes.
Especially if you have help, it's even faster.
It's even faster. If you don't need
So Nova should
to
be the top.
if you don't stick around for the biodomes, you can clear really fast. So, Nova.
I think Nova's gonna kind of get slowed down by the fact that Power Overwhelming can still beat up on your hero unit even despite Super Cloak. So that's why I was thinking I think Mengsk better. Plus, Mengsk's defense is
solider,
slightly more bulletproof, but like realistically, they're both so indestructible that it's not an entirely meaningful distinction.
Both of them can fly. Just play strictly offense. Anyway, so
when you're Super Cloak, they'll cast spells on you, but they won't attack you as a result of being fungled or something, right?
I think they do.
Fungal
I've
still
seen that.
You. Fungal
yeah,
still
I've been decloaked with fungal.
Yeah,
but I just revive her.
As I understand it, unless I'm mistaken, I'd have to test this, but I heard a rumor that that since the last patch, they also bugged it so now the time warps also decloak you. So like, thanks.
Seen that.
That's great.
Haven't seen that.
So I don't know. I'd have to double check that one. But the point is, yes, there are spells that will decloak you, and once those spells decloak you, your chance of living is not stellar. That's fine because it's just a couple minerals to revive Nova, but it will slow you down. So it's like she might be only the second best S tier instead of the best S tier, basically.
I'm also wondering if the fact that Stetboy is F2 and A move, and he helps his ally, makes up a case for him to be top of S.
No.
He doesn't clear that fast.
That's true.
Yeah.
But helping your ally and the simplicity of F2 and A move.
Helping your ally versus soloing so efficiently that your ally can be AFK. Because if your ally is AFK, Stetmann's going to have a much harder time than Mengsk and Nova.
Okay. So, do we confirm that Nova is top of S, or are you still saying Arcturus is better?
I think Nova should be top.
Yeah, I also think Nova should be top.
I'd be okay with Nova as top.
Okay.
So, yeah, Nova is top. And then, other than that, the ordering is correct.
What do you think, T2?
Just as I said, I think Nova is top. I'm watching my run and I see Nova getting pulled when she's trying to nuke, and then I lost my nuke.
Oh yeah, that happened to me as well. That happened to me as well. Oh, I didn't lose Nova. I just did not get the nuke off. I was so mad.
Okay, well, pull does decloak you also for a little bit, so it can cause you to lose your Nova outright.
Yeah, I got pulled into a group of angry people, or
angry people,
angry enemies.
Just airlift
people.
Just airlift.
Did you die?
Yeah, I died.
She died. All right, poor Nova.
So-
Or more accurately, Nova died. Did it matter? No.
No.
But Nova does die.
Oh,
She gets
well.
hit by spells and then
More
she
than
dies.
usual.
Yes.
Oh well. But do you think do you agree to the rest of the S tier is correctly ordered?
Yeah.
Okay. For
That's
A
good.
tier, who's the best A tier?
Karax.
I wouldn't complain with Karax being top of A. I like Solar Lance. How
Yeah,
about you,
I
Stukov?
can agree with Karax.
Okay.
And
Who's
then maybe
Stukov?
Zeratul above Stukov.
Zeratul.
Yeah, Stukov's bottom.
Zeratul.
Okay. B. Who's top of B? Vorzu was an
Vorzu.
A candidate, right? So do we put Vorzu on top of B? Because
Yeah, I guess so.
and
I
then
guess that makes sense. And then
Dehaka, because he doesn't have the same late game issues.
I
was
kind of feel
thinking-
like it's P2 Tychus.
Yeah, I was thinking like Tychus is so strong that you would end it before it's a problem, as long as your ally does something. If
Okay.
your ally does nothing, then it's a little harder.
Do you both
If
agree
you are
Tychus?
not P2 Tychus, I think you're going to have him at the bottom of B tier.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So Dehaka and Kerrigan the same person?
Dehaka is
I
better than
think
Kerrigan.
Hawk is better.
Okay. So this is now correctly ordered.
Yeah,
Okay. C tier. Who's better?
Abathur.
Abathur.
Cool. D tier. Who's the best?
Oh man.
Well, if you can play Phoenix like P2 Tychus.
I think
It's
Alarak.
bad P2 Tychus.
Bad
Better.
P2 Tychus, but you think Alarak's top of D?
Yes.
Okay. Then Artanis is bottom of D?
Probably, because
Yeah.
it's bad P2 Tychus, but at least it's bad P2 Tychus.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah. As opposed to being bad Han and Horner, who's somehow still better than Han and Horner.
Oh yeah. Like it's bad Han and Horner for the clearing, not the defending.
For Han and Horner, bad Han and Horner, still better than Han and Horner.
They're having some issues that they're working through. Okay, they're working on it. They're trying.
For Han and Horner.
They're doing their best. Okay. Oh gosh.
Okay, E tier, who's better? Or who's less bad? Han and Horner or Zagara?
I would say Han and Horner's better. Well, I don't know actually.
Is
Because
Han and Horner
even if they
better?
take 2 shots, they're still helping you finish the map more quickly.
Doesn't Zagara at least have better defense?
Zagara's
yeah.
defense is better, but you want to win faster, right?
I guess that's true. But you still need 2 airstrikes. I guess it doesn't matter either. As long as Han and Horner help a little bit. Okay, so is E correctly ordered?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
They're both bad.
Alright.
They're both
I
very
guess
bad.
one more case for Han and Horner. You can fly and just let your top bars do the thing. Whereas the guard doesn't have that option unless you clear the bottom. Alright, so there is your tier list for this week's mutation. One more thing that viewers requested is commander combos who have very good synergy against this mutator. Do we have any who are greater than...
Nova Manx, right?
I mean,
Ah!
combo who...
Barring using S tiers.
Let me finish. Combo whose effectiveness as a team is greater than the sum of their parts, meaning they have synergy, not just that they're both strong. Because I think that's what the comment means.
Yes.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yes. Rather than just yes, Nova and Manx can each solo this, and they don't get in each other's way, so they're great.
Yes. Maybe Stetboy
I
and
don't.
someone.
Every time I see that, I just feel like it's most of the time is not very meaningful, just because like you can have two good synergy commanders, but it's still not gonna be two S tiers.
Yes.
True.
Yes, but I think the essence of that is not everyone. Surprise! Not everyone has bought all the commanders, so they're wondering if there's an option with lower tier commanders that they can use. I think that's I think that's the case that they're trying to extract.
You know, I was thinking of the whole thing of like Abathur and Alarak, of like Alarak having a strong early game and then Abathur having a strong late game.
Yeah,
But I think that I'd even still there say, no, I'd prefer Abathur and Jimmy.
Abathur and Jimmy.
Yeah.
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 So at least Jimmy's a free commander, so there's no excuse of not having leveled up, right? And
Yeah.
either way, you guys should probably have Swann, right? Guys, if you don't have Swann leveled up, comment down below why you don't have Swann leveled up. Do you not have Legacy of the Void? You should. It's a great game. Do you not like playing Swann? Try it.
That's understandable because a lot of people don't.
That's true, but you try it. The laser drill thing is pretty fun to do once you figure out that it works. Yeah, Swann and Jimmy might work. If nothing else, you both can fly. Oh, Nova and Raynor can both fly. If you have only Raynor and Hot and Horner, you can still fly. And just play offense using top bars. You'll eventually do it. I think.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that,
I would
anyone
think
else?
synergies are more important for polarity mutations,
That's true. That's true.
not so much regular ones. Because like I'd rather have one Manx than Abathur and Jimmy.
Yes, I would agree.
All right, guys. There it is. I tried. Let it be known that I tried, but it's just better to have an S tier than a very good synergy.
Some weeks it's better to have a very good synergy. This week the S tiers are just
S tiers.
really good.
I mean, they're S tiers for a
basically,
reason.
The gap between S and A is a bit variable. Sometimes it's relatively like they're kind of close, but the S tiers are like a step up. Here
Alright.
it's not close. It's the S tiers just face roll this mutation.
All this is telling me is I should try asking next week. I will try asking next week. All right, guys.
Yes,
watch.
you can try asking next week. We'll see what the mutation yields then.
It's Donny Vermilion with the darkness.
Yes, that's pain. I don't like that one.
Raynor ally who does nothing but scan. That's cool.
Hey, then Zeratul
I
with
feel like observers are better.
yeah,
Scan
Zeratul's
darkness.
observer specifically.
Yes, Zeratul just showing up and saying, "I am omniscient." Or Stetmann.
Stetmann too, yeah, Stetboy.
He sees.
Also Kerrigan. Oh, also
We'll talk about that next time.
yeah, we'll talk about that next time.
That's right. If you want a great synergy, play Stetmann plus Karax. I know they're already both extremely high tier, but repair beam ultralisks.
That's awesome. All right, guys, watch C2 and Sticks Bander's channels. I will link them down below, and I will see you guys next time.